Learning to write is among the most powerful things that you can do in life, not just in career and job, but in getting you through all the different situations in life that you may encounter. Practicing writing exercises your brain because if you're able to write well, the writing process requires you to use your creative juices to think, to develop thoughts, to develop chain of events in the writing, to think about word usage, to think about sentence structure, to think about the order in which you write certain sentences and the order in which you pen your thoughts, going back and revisiting what you wrote and deciding how can I better word this argument, this situation. And by the way, argument is not just a two-way back and forth disagreement. That's not the point. An argument is quite simply stating your position, your opinion, if you will, and providing supporting thoughts, supporting documentation perhaps, supporting logic to bolster your point, your argument. So arguments are not necessarily negative, but doing it in a written form is powerful because you're not just in a verbal exchange, just exchanging your thoughts back and forth, which is also good. That also requires you to think a bit. But when you write your argument, if you will, you practice that, if you allow yourself, you'll kind of be forced to reread it. Think about how you wrote it. Think about how will the reader perceive what you wrote. And will then your argument be persuasive? What's the point of having an argument or making a point or even writing down or even vocalizing an opinion if not to convince the other person, the other group, to see it your way and to come over to your side of the conversation? Or if it's a reader, to look at what you wrote and say, you know, I agree with that. Or maybe I don't agree with it, and here's why. But to have it well structured. Now, why is this important? Let's break this down now into your situation, job-wise. Okay, so you're doing a job. You're working for an employer. Let's put this in a situation where you are the employee. You're working for the employer. You're doing a very good job. The employer loves you. You're on time. You're efficient, right? You are a team player. You are creative in how you do your work if creativity is part of the job requirements. Some are not. Some jobs are process jobs, right? But that's okay. You do a process job extremely well if that's the job that you're in. You are the star employee. Well, what happens when you have a situation that you need to put in writing? Maybe you have an issue that you want to address, good or bad, and the better way to do it to ensure you have record of the situation is to put it in writing. And again, this can be good or bad, positive or negative. It would be good if the written argument that you're making or the written process, the written thought flow is in a very logical sequence, if you will, and has good word usage. Well, learn how to write. Learn how to put those thoughts on paper, and it'll serve you very well. Let's just say, for example, you want to, in another case, lobby for a pay raise. Well, rather than just calling the boss or having a one-on-one conversation saying, you know, I think it's time for a pay raise. I need to buy Johnny new shoes, or my rent went up, or property taxes increased, so I need more money. That's not a good reason to ask for a pay raise. Maybe it's a good reason in your mind, but it's not a good argument to make to justify why the company should be giving up more of its resources to put in your pocket just because your property taxes increased or your rent increased or Johnny needs new shoes, right? But what if you were able to think about all of the good things that you've done for the business, for the company, for the job, for your position, and maybe how you've grown over the last X amount of time. several months or a couple of years, what have you, since the last pay raise. And maybe because you're thinking now, because you're going to put it in writing, so you're giving it some thought, your brain is having to exercise. This muscle up here, really, is having to exercise and come up with a good set of reasons that a pay raise is justified. Here's reason one, and a subset of reason one is point A is this, and then let's talk about point A. Point B is this benefit, if you will. Let's talk about point B and why it's an important point. Point C, point D, point E, or 1, 2, 3, however you want to put it. And so you're thinking, and you're processing, and you are building a strong case for why the boss or the folks that can approve a pay raise should agree with you and say, you know what, you're right. Never thought of it that way before. Aha. So let's approve this request, right? Or what if you are going to have something fixed? Let's just say, for example, your car. Most of us drive a vehicle. If you don't, you always take the subway or walk to work. That's fine. But let's assume you have a vehicle, and the vehicle needs to be repaired. And you take it to a repair shop, and for some reason you think that repair shop is trying to rip you off. Maybe they're going to recommend some services that are truly, in your mind at least, not recommended. But under some pressure, perhaps you say, well, okay, I'll just go ahead and do that, and we'll get it fixed. And I suppose, because after all, I do need my car back, or my truck back, or whatever the case may be, go ahead and do that $2,000 in repair. And then later you think, after you picked up the vehicle, and you approve the work under duress, let's just say, because now you have your vehicle, and now you can go back to work, right? Or transport your kids back and forth to school now. Now you can live the life you need to be able to have those wheels to allow you to live. Now you're thinking, I was ripped off. Maybe you just realize it after the fact, perhaps. It'd be nice if you're able to put your case in writing and submit that to the owner of the repair facility or the dealership or what have you, and you built the argument as to why this should not have been the case as far as the charges that they levied or perhaps the repairs that they recommended. If you're able to think through it and put it in a good logical sequence, and not just the sequence of what happened, but do some research perhaps and say, here are the consumer laws that were broken. Let's just go there for the moment. If you research that, you think about it, and then you put that on a paper, and here are the ramifications if I were to pursue this further beyond the dealership in a legal case. If you build that case in writing, you have a much greater chance of being refunded. I've had this happen in my own life with people that I know who have come to me for advice this way, and I've put together written documents, if you will, and have in at least 2 or 3 cases that I can think of offhand gotten them full refunds because the argument was so strong. But why was it strong? Because I was having to think and put things in logical order and build my case on paper, in an email document, if you will. Print it, have record of it, those sorts of things. But learning how to write and do that well requires you to think and develop your thinking process and expand the mind, exercise the muscle that is our brain. And it is very effective in so many other ways. So if you have not taken the chance, or I shouldn't say take a chance, if you have not taken the opportunities to develop writing skills, I would strongly encourage you to do so. It will serve you well on the job. It will serve you well in life. It will serve you well just overall. Don't be one who can barely put together a few sentences and a few cohesive, maybe one paragraph. Develop that skill, and if it intimidates you, that's okay. Take an online course or at the local junior college or somewhere. Get that writing skill developed. Again, it's not just learning where to put the paragraph, or rather, I should say the capitalization and the punctuation and all that. It's formulating your thoughts, formulating your argument, formulating what you're trying to convey to the reader or to the person with whom you are communicating. Once you have that, between now and the rest of your life, if you could quantify the benefit across a lifetime of improvement because of your writing ability, the numbers may be staggering. You would just be surprised. And you won't know when you will use that benefit, that skill, I should say, and derive the benefit until you need it. But once you have it and you understand the power of writing and thinking like that, then you can pull that out of your mind whenever you need to in a moment's notice to craft a written document that will benefit you in so many ways. And again, the ways are practically innumerable. You won't be able to know all of them until, as life goes on, you say, wow, that came in handy. Wow, that came in handy again. Came in handy again and again and again and again and again. And it may come in handy to the tune of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of benefit to you. And not even just financial benefit, just the benefit of being able to be persuasive, being able to structure a cohesive thought. You follow me? I'll stop rambling. Listen, I am Greg with the Job Tips and Straight Talk channel. I do appreciate you checking in. Please subscribe, like, share this with all of your friends and family and everybody else that you don't know. I'd appreciate it so much. And I do hope this has helped you. Hope it helps you in life and in the job or career that you want to be dynamic. And I hope you have that job or career that you want to have. Take care.